Hi guys, Mr. Scott here. So I hope this all finds you healthy and doing well in your time in isolation. If you ever need anything, please find me or remind through email. Everything is on Miss Miller's website. For this video, I'm going a little bit into the chemistry major, the gist of the major, and what did I do? What does a college major consist of? I'm going to talk about some possible career options, and then I'm going to get into some college stuff. So, chemistry specifically. Chemistry involves a lot of math. So part of what you have to do is take calculus. You have to take calculus 1 and 2. So if you didn't take like a pre-calculus or stuff like that, you also have to take pre-calc. Your algebra has to be good, all this stuff. It's very math intensive at certain points, but I'll get into that as we go through the video. I put down that there's a fair amount of memorization. So where does the memorization come in? You guys get the reference table that we referenced numerous times while I was teaching. I did not get a reference table in my time in college. Something like table F, which we just did with the solubility in the solutions unit. There's no such thing as a table F. You just learn certain trends that will carry you far enough. So if you ask me what the solubility is of certain compounds, I can typically tell you just because I didn't have the ability to rely on that table in college. The key, though, for a chemistry major is problem solving. So you're going to see I'm going to go into a problem that I actually had and did in my general chemistry course at Hofstra, not only my first year at Hofstra, that is going to look very familiar. So here it is. I'll give you a second, read the problem. Hopefully this looks familiar because it's all stuff that you've done. Percent composition, then becoming empirical formula, and then finding the molar mass. Let me get this out of your way. Finding the molar mass of the compound. Finding the empirical formula based off the molar mass. So let me get this out of the way again. This is actually what I did on a test, and I scanned it and then brought it right back into this presentation. So on my test, they asked you to determine the empirical formula of squalene, and it was worth 5 points. You can see it's just a typical mass to mole conversion. You find the number of moles, you then multiply the formula to get an actual empirical formula. You then know that the molar mass is 410.7 grams per mole, and it asks you what's the molecular formula. So you then have to do your math and find it. This is all stuff that you've done in Regents chemistry. So don't throw out your binder. Keep it if you plan on taking a science, and use it because it will be beneficial for you. This type of problem solving, though, comes up every single day in a chemistry major, in any science class, in most majors that you're going to take. So here's my whole chemistry major. Let me get the picture out of the way. This is everything that I did. So what I'm covering up says credits required, which is 41. So 41 credits are what's required out of my specific chemistry major. My major is kind of unique, though, because technically I'm a double major. So not only am I a chemistry major, but I'm also an education major. So they shortened some of what I had to take. So you'll see what I'm pointing at right here is physical chemistry 1 and lab. If I were to be a full chemistry major, I would have to take physical chemistry 1 and physical chemistry 2, both with the lab, as well as biochemistry 1 and biochemistry 2. So they give me a selection. You can see these are the grades that I got. 3.48 GPA, not too shabby for a chemistry major. If you have interest in this, I have access to this tool called DegreeWorks, which essentially shows you the requirements for any major on campus. If this video is something that you like, please let me know. Send it in your responses. I'd be happy to go through for specific majors and talk about all the requirements that you need for whatever major it is that you guys want to do. So, getting back into the chemistry. General chemistry 1 and 2 is the start. What I've done in the essence of time, because I only have 15 minutes with this web page that I'm using to record the video, is I've gotten the most simplest form of what the classes are that you're going to take in a chemistry major and outline them. So you'll see here in the top left corner where my cursor is that General Chemistry 1 involves studying of chemical principles, emphasis stoichiometric relationships, the kinetic molecular theory of gases, atomic theory, chemical bonding, periodicity, solutions, electrolytes, redox, blah, blah, blah. General Chemistry 1 is essentially the whole first semester of Regents Chemistry. I won't even lie, it's almost the same thing, but you go a little bit more in depth with certain topics. General Chemistry 2 is a whole different ballgame. General Chemistry 2 involves qualitative inorganic analysis. So we did qualitative analysis with the solutions lab or the solubility lab that you did with me. That's qualitative analysis right there. So you've done it. But it's also introductory courses in chemical kinetics, equilibrium, electrochemistry. This is all stuff that you would have done given that we were still in school. But General Chemistry 2 is very math heavy, so that's something that you need to know. It's very algebra heavy, and all the stuff that you would have covered in a Regents Chemistry course, and if you have interest in, Mrs. Miller and I could post videos on, but it involves stuff that you would have learned in your Regents Chemistry class, plus more math. You'd then go right into Organic Chemistry 1 and 2. And Organic Chemistry has like this dark cloud over it. I really enjoyed Organic Chemistry. It was not one of the more difficult chemistries that I've taken, but for some people it can be really difficult. So here's kind of the outline of what do you do. So functional groups, something that you would have done in Organic Chemistry, structure, properties, that's stuff that you would do in your Regents Chemistry course. So you guys are prepared up to a certain point just based off of your Regents Chemistry course. The reactions part of it jumps right into Organic 2. So you briefly go over certain reactions in Organic 1, but Organic 2 is just chemistry reactions, just organic chemistry reactions, and it's a lot. It's not easy. So if you're this far, that's awesome. It's great, but not organic chemistry isn't for everyone. For a chemistry major, you'd go Organic Chemistry while you're taking Organic Chemistry 1 in the fall of your third semester, second year. You'd also take descriptive inorganic chemistry. This right here, inorganic chemistry, has to do with every single element on the periodic table that's not carbon. That's the definition of the course. So organic chemistry, which we just talked about, deals with carbon, it deals with hydrogen, it deals with oxygen and nitrogen. Those are the main players in an organic chemistry class. In inorganic chemistry, you deal with all of the other elements, the reactions that go on, the reactivity, uses, emphasizing main group elements. For this class, I had to memorize the first, I think it was 45 elements, something like that. You had to know the periodic table like the back of your hand because everything that you did involved the periodic table. This up here in the top right is a complexation reaction, which is something that you learn about in something like in inorganic chemistry class. In this, I wanted to bring you to a syllabus. What does a syllabus for a college course look like? In any course that you take, you will find a syllabus like this. So you'll see the professor, where their office hour is, their email, and their phone. This is the course that you're taking and then when it was. They'll give you a description of the course, typically any of the course materials that you need. For this course, we didn't need a textbook. A lot of chemistry courses and a lot of courses in general will require some sort of textbook that is often expensive. They'll then outline. Teachers are planners, if you haven't realized that. So we plan very heavily and try to follow that plan. So this is the plan. This is actually the syllabus of when I took inorganic chemistry in the fall of 2017. And this is the plan that the professor tried to follow so that we could stay on task and get everything done in the time that we had allotted. Most of the syllabi that you find, syllabus, in any of the courses that you take will involve student learning outcomes. It'll come up with your grades. How are you graded? That's something that's always important to everyone. How are you graded? How is your grade weighed? You can see that an A is 90% to 100%. That is a lot. So it shows you that this is not easy. If your grade being an A is 10 points, that means that the course is not typically an easier course. It'll outline homework and quizzes. It basically outlines what do you have to do in case there was some sort of dispute based on your grade. A professor could say, okay, here was the syllabus, here it was outlined, this is everything that they had to follow in their time with me. Moving on, just because we don't have a lot of time. The next course is physical chemistry. So I talked a little bit about the math perspective and how that plays into physics, biology, and all of that. So any science course that you take is going to be very math involved. Physical chemistry is your first introduction to the very, very, very math heavy part of chemistry. It involves not only physics, but calculus. You're doing derivatives, integrals, all this stuff related to chemistry. So, but you'll see and you'll recognize that what is covered in a physical chemistry course, thermodynamics, gas reactions, stuff like this is all stuff that you see in Regents chemistry. It's just the part where Mrs. Miller and I tell you that what you learn is a lie. This is where it becomes a lie, because you actually learn the real chemistry, because you're now equipped with the certain math to do the real chemistry. You then go into analytical chemistry 1 and 2. If you ask Miss Miller or I think we would both tell you that analytical chemistry is probably the hardest course, one of the hardest courses that you would take. I could tell you a story about how I was involved in a titration, which you guys didn't get to do, sadly, but maybe in the future sometime. I did titration for 7 hours, because for analytical chemistry, it's all about the precision and how precise can you get. So you had to be, for the lab, you had to be within 0.003% error for 3 trials. It's not a lot of error, trust me. Analytical chemists are part of the FDA. They're part of why your water's pure. Stuff like that is what you could do if you have the skills from an analytical chemistry degree. Then you go into biochemistry. Surprisingly, you guys are really interested in biochemistry, which is awesome. I personally hated it. I wasn't very strong in bio because bio was all memorization. It wasn't something that I personally enjoyed. Biochemistry was not a class that was my favorite, to say. You'll see that everything that you're studying, nucleic acids, lipids, proteins, carbohydrates, blah, 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 is all bio, but you're learning the chemistry of it. How is it happening? Why is it happening? What's taking place? All of that stuff using the chemistry that you've learned in all of the classes that you've taken up to this point. I'm now going to talk a little bit about electives. So for any major that you do, you're going to have to take a certain number of electives. These were the electives available while I was attending school. Polymer chemistry, molecular virology, nanochemistry, and then I ended up taking a chemistry and industry course. So if you go back to the analytical chemistry, why do I know so much about it? It's because I took this elective. The point of an elective is to apply what you're learning to the real world. This is like what you get in your typical content courses is like the cookie cutter. This is what you need to know. But electives are finally applying what you learned to the real world and what you're going to do with it. So these are just a couple careers that you can do with a chemistry major. I'm going to move this up. Chemical engineer, forensic scientist, pharmacist, toxicologist, doctor, physician assistant, and a nurse. Something like a nurse is something that came up a lot with you guys. Nurses require an in-depth knowledge of organic matter and its reaction to different kinds of chemicals. And something like a chemistry major equips you to be able to understand that, okay, I can use this chemical because it's soluble or not soluble, or anything like that. And it's something that really applies to a nursing major specifically. While I know all of you aren't going to be chemists, and I know you're not all going to do chemistry majors, clearly, that's fine. But this is just me showing you that this is something that you can do, and this is how it applies to the real world. Moving on. College in general. So I only have about a minute and a half left, but college in general, you're going to take approximately 40 courses, 12 of which are major specific. So if you think about it, a typical college course is approximately 124 credits. Credits are how colleges determine that you've sufficiently taken the number of time or the amount of time to learn the major and do everything that you need. 124 credits is kind of the typical number. College courses are typically 3 to 4 credits depending on the major, and a college degree is composed of general education requirements and content courses, major courses, and then your electives. The part that I've covered up here is Blackboard. So what I just showed you is Blackboard. Most colleges use it, and it's a site where you see all your courses, online assignments, and it's basically the focal point for most colleges, but definitely at Oneonta as well as at Hofstra. If you want me to go more into it, I'm happy to. I wanted to get a chance to show you guys Blackboard and go through it, so maybe I'll do that in another video, and Mrs. Miller and I can post that. But for now, this has been a chemistry major, as well as a little bit of college in general. please, if you like this, let us know. I'm happy to do more of these videos. Thanks, guys.